Can you imagine a locomotive so powerful, so overwhelmingly massive that the rails begin to vibrate long before it even appears on the horizon? Machines so heavy that entire engineering teams had to reinvent structural standards just to support their own weight. Engines so strong they pulled hundreds of tons across deserts, over mountain ranges, through ice storms and scorching heat, all while riding on two thin, unforgiving strips of steel. These weren't ordinary locomotives. They were iron giants, mechanical titans, built with a single purpose: to deliver pure, relentless power. Some of them were so absurdly large they were barely practical. Others became legends, worshipped by rail fans, studied by engineers, and preserved as monuments to human ambition. Today, you're about to step into the world of these unstoppable beasts, the most extreme locomotives ever built. Some still roar down the rails. Others were so massive, so audacious, that the fact they were built at all feels like a challenge to the laws of physics. And trust me, the #1 locomotive on this list will leave you speechless. MAV 242,001 Hungary, 1936. A streamlined beauty with the heart of a giant. Our story opens in Hungary, 1936, where a single locomotive emerged that felt astonishingly ahead of its time: the MAV 242,001, built by the renowned Hungarian manufacturer Mavic. It wasn't just a machine, it was a statement of national pride, a promise that Hungary could stand among the great engineering powers of Europe. This locomotive wasn't merely fast, it was precision in motion. Powered by a high-pressure steam engine pushing out an impressive 200-300 horsepower, the 242,001 could reach speeds of 94 mph, 152 km/h, a figure that placed it shoulder to shoulder with the finest Western Express locomotives of the era. What made it truly special was its four-cylinder compound engine, a rare setup that delivered astonishingly smooth, steady power. Passengers described the ride as almost floating because power distribution was so balanced that the locomotive seemed to glide rather than run. Its drivetrain was clean and efficient, built to transfer force to the rails with minimal loss. Reinforced rear wheels and a robust suspension kept the machine stable, even at high speeds, giving it the confidence to devour long-distance routes effortlessly. And visually, it was breathtaking. Painted in deep blue with elegant silver detailing, the MAV 242,001 looked more like a futuristic Art Deco sculpture than a steam machine. Its aerodynamic body flowed like a steel arrow. The distinctive oval windows and enclosed cab made it look modern, almost ahead of the century. When its whistle echoed across Hungarian valleys, sharp, proud, unmistakable people turned to watch. But despite its brilliance, only one was ever built, a singular masterpiece, a rare jewel in Europe's steam heritage. Preserved today as a national treasure, it stands as a reminder of what Hungarian engineering dared to dream. In its prime, it even shattered regional speed records, outperforming rival locomotives from Germany and Italy, an achievement that cemented its legendary status. But while the MAV dazzled with speed and refinement, our next locomotive was built for one thing only: to survive the brutal deserts of South Africa, where water was scarce and failure meant death. South African Railways Class 25, 1953. The desert titan that refused to die. From the elegant speed of Hungary, we now travel into a completely different battlefield: the scorching deserts of South Africa, where survival itself becomes an engineering challenge. Introduced in 1953, the Class 25 wasn't built to be beautiful. It wasn't built for speed. It was built to endure, to survive regions where water was rare, temperatures reached brutal extremes, and long stretches of track passed through landscapes that looked more like another planet than a railway route. Engineered by a collaboration between the North British Locomotive Company and Henschel & Son, the Class 25 came equipped with one of the most revolutionary systems in steam locomotive history: the condensing tender. This brilliant piece of engineering recycled steam back into water, dramatically extending the locomotive's range, a necessity in areas where refilling stations were scarce or completely absent. In the desert, this wasn't innovation, it was survival. The Class 25 ran on a simple expansion engine with two enormous 23-inch cylinders operating at 210 psi. This unleashed around 200 horsepower raw dependable strength, perfect for hauling heavy freight across blistering terrain without faltering. Its reinforced suspension and massive rear driving wheels kept over 210 tons of locomotive stable on heat-warped rails. This wasn't a sleek, polished express engine like the MAV 242. It was a steel workhorse, a grinding, relentless powerhouse, born for the toughest environment on Earth. And then there was its silhouette, long, low, dark, and unmistakably intimidating. The extended condensing tender made it look like a rolling fortress gliding across the desert with a steady rumble. Locals recognized its sound immediately, a deep, haunting growl that vibrated through the dry air long before the train appeared. The Class 25 became a symbol of reliability in a place where machines usually died quickly. Some units were later modified into non-condensing models, but a few of the originals still exist today, occasionally seen on heritage railways. Their engineering excellence reached far beyond Africa. Even Soviet engineers studied the condensing design in the 1970s for potential use in extreme cold, proving just how globally influential the Class 25 truly was. Where the desert burned relentlessly, this locomotive thrived, a machine built not just to perform, but to survive the impossible. But next we encounter something entirely different. A locomotive so graceful, so powerful, and so beloved that it earned the nickname, the Queen of Steam. Get ready, the hills of Virginia are calling. Norfolk and Western. Versus 11, 1950. The Queen of Steam. From the blistering South African desert, we now travel to the rolling hills of Virginia, a place where steel rails twist through forests, valleys, and deep Appalachian shadows. Here in 1950, a locomotive was born that didn't just run, it performed. This was the Norfolk and Western 611, a masterpiece of American engineering and one of the most beloved steam locomotives ever created. Part of the prestigious Class J series, it was built not just for power, but for grace, speed, and flawless performance. At the core of the 611 was a high-pressure boiler capable of producing an astonishing 100 horsepower, enough muscle to haul full passenger loads while cruising comfortably at 87 miles per hour and 40 kilometers. Few steam locomotives in the world could match that combination of speed and efficiency. Its secret was a beautifully balanced three-cylinder engine distributing power with surgical smoothness. Passengers often describe the ride as effortless, a near-floating sensation thanks to the locomotive's perfectly tuned suspension. While other engines rattled violently at high speed, the 611 glided almost dancing across the rails. And visually, it was a work of art. A sleek black body wrapped in elegant red stripes, a bullet-shaped nose slicing through the wind, a proud profile that looked fast even when standing still. But the true soul of the 611 was its whistle, a deep melodic call that echoed through towns, forests, and valleys. People didn't just hear it, they felt it. It became so iconic that rail fans still describe it as the greatest steam whistle ever built. Constructed in Roanoke, Virginia, the 611 quickly earned its crown, the Queen of Steam, because it wasn't merely a locomotive, it was a spectacle, a moving symbol of American industrial excellence. When it was retired, fans refused to let it die. The 611 was painstakingly restored and returned to service, where it still thunders down the rails today on special excursions. Crowds gather just to watch it pass, and cameras struggle to capture its power. In fact, during a 1980s documentary shoot, the helicopter filming the 611 actually had to slow down because it couldn't keep pace, a testament to how effortlessly this machine devoured the track. Elegant, ferocious, legendary. But where the 611 balanced beauty with power, the next locomotive on our list didn't bother with delicacy at all. It was built for one reason, raw strength, and it showed. Santa Fe 5000, Madam Queen 1930, a lone titan built to pull the impossible. Built in 1930 during the harsh years of the Great Depression, the Santa Fe 5000 was never meant to be pretty, elegant, or exciting. It existed for one purpose: serious, unrelenting work. Only a single unit was ever produced by Baldwin Locomotive Works, yet it earned a reputation powerful enough to stand alongside the greatest locomotives in American history. Nicknamed Madam Queen, this locomotive was a pure muscle machine. It operated at an impressive 300 psi through two enormous cylinders, producing roughly 500-600 horsepower. That is more than enough to haul some of the heaviest freight across the demanding terrain of New Mexico and Arizona regions, known for steep grades, rough tracks, and unforgiving heat. Its wheel configuration, a 2-10-4 layout, gave it superb traction. 10 driving wheels distributed its power across the rails, letting it grip mountain passes with a confidence few locomotives could match. Supporting all that weight were heavy-duty coil springs, essential for stabilizing a machine that weighed more than 500,000 pounds. In motion, the Santa Fe 5000 was the definition of no-nonsense American industry. It lacked streamlining, polish, or stylistic flair. It was raw machinery in its purest form, exposed steel, open piping, and a frame that looked built to survive the end of the world. Even fully loaded, it could reach speeds up to 68 miles per hour, which was astonishing for a locomotive built primarily for freight. Despite its remarkable performance, it was never mass-produced. But rail workers and engineers remembered it vividly. It proved a single locomotive, if designed correctly, could rival the output of multiple engines. Its reliability and brutal strength earned it a loyal following. Today, the Santa Fe 5000 is preserved in Amarillo, Texas. Its nickname came from blues singer Gertrude Mulroney, giving this iron brute a surprising touch of cultural charm. It may not have had the sleek beauty of an express locomotive, but it left an impression that time could not erase. One engine, one legend, an unforgettable symbol of industrial power. But if you think this lone giant was extreme, the next machine on our list pushed engineering so far, it nearly broke the boundaries of what rails could handle. Soviet AA-20 1934, the giant that was too big for the rails. Now we travel to the Soviet Union in 1934, a time when engineers were dreaming on a scale that pushed the boundaries of logic, practicality, and even physics. What they built became the largest steam locomotive ever constructed in Europe, a machine so massive and ambitious that operating it bordered on impossible. This was the Soviet AA-20, the ultimate experiment in making one locomotive do the work of many. Designed by the Kolomna Works, the AA-20 was intended to replace multiple engines by producing the kind of brute force no single locomotive had ever attempted before. At its core was a powerful three-cylinder engine, but the detail that truly set it apart was its wheel arrangement, an astonishing 4-14-4 configuration. 14 driving wheels, a setup so extreme it had rarely been tried before and has almost never been attempted again. With roughly 4,000 horsepower, the AA-20 had the strength to match its enormous bulk. But power was not the problem. Everything else was. The boiler was so huge that maintenance crews struggled to reach parts of it. The frame was so long that the locomotive could not handle normal track curves without serious difficulty. During test runs, it frequently derailed unless temporary reinforcement rails were installed, a clear sign that the machine was literally too big for the country's rail system. Weighing over 260 tons, the AA-20 looked almost alien. Its elongated frame and endless rows of wheels made it resemble a steel centipede stretching across the tracks. It was loud and awkward and undeniably impressive, but it created logistical nightmares everywhere it went. Station platforms, switching yards, turntables. Nothing was built to handle a locomotive of this scale. In practical service, it proved too unwieldy to be useful. After limited trials and mounting operational concerns, the Soviet Union quietly retired the AA-20 and eventually dismantled it. Yet despite its short life, the AA-20 left behind a legacy that endures. It became a symbol of Soviet engineering ambition, a colossal project that dared to exceed the limits of practicality. To this day, the AA-20 fascinates historians and rail enthusiasts, not for what it achieved, but for the sheer audacity of its existence. And as wild as this steel giant was, the next machine on our list wasn't built to pull trains at all. It was designed to destroy walls of snow that buried entire railways. Union Pacific Rotary Snow Plow, the machine built to fight winter itself. Some locomotives haul freight, some pull passengers, but a rare few exist for a different purpose entirely, to destroy whatever stands in the way of the rails. Enter the Union Pacific Rotary Snow Plow, one of the most fearsome winter machines ever created. This wasn't simply a snowplow. It was a moving steel weapon built to carve through blizzards so severe they could bury entire trains overnight. Originally invented in the late 1800s and refined through the mid-20th century, the rotary snowplow represents one of the most brilliant and brutal solutions to winter rail travel. Unlike typical locomotives, this machine cannot move on its own. It is pushed by another engine. But at its front sits its true power, a massive circular rotary blade driven by its own 6-cylinder diesel engine, producing up to 2,000 horsepower. Think of it as a train-mounted jet engine with knives. When activated, that front turbine spins with tremendous force, slicing through snow as if it were nothing more than soft foam. It doesn't just shove snow aside like a normal plow. It pulverizes it, sending thousands of pounds of snow blasting off the track in great arcs of white fury. Built from armored steel and weighing around 135 tons, the rotary plow was engineered to survive horrific winter conditions. Reinforced suspension and heavy framing allowed it to withstand steep grades, deep drifts, and snow packed as hard as concrete. Its battlefield was the Rocky Mountains. Here, blizzards could trap entire trains for days, sealing tracks under 10 feet of wind-packed snow. And in these moments, the rotary snowplow became the hero of the rails. The sound it produced was unforgettable. The thunder of the diesel engine combined with the high-pitched scream of metal blades tearing into ice created a noise that sounded more like an aircraft than a train. From miles away, you could hear it coming. Even today, a handful of these monsters remain on standby for emergencies. In fact, during a record-breaking Wyoming blizzard in 2011, one of these rotary plows was pulled out of retirement and it cleared the blocked line flawlessly, proving that even half a century later, it was still unmatched. It isn't beautiful, it isn't elegant, but when winter shuts down everything else, this is the machine that reopens the world. And if the rotary snowplow is the master of winter warfare, the next locomotive balances brute strength and high-speed performance in a way few machines in history have ever achieved. Union Pacific Challenger 3985s, the mountain crusher that refused to quit. Built in 1943 by the American Locomotive Company, the Union Pacific Challenger 3985 wasn't just another steam engine. It was a precision-crafted juggernaut engineered to conquer one of the most unforgiving environments in American railroading, the towering, punishing grades of the Rocky Mountains. For decades, the 3985 held the title of the largest operating steam locomotive in the world, and with good reason. It belonged to the legendary Challenger class locomotives designed to deliver immense pulling power while maintaining enough speed to keep up with demanding wartime and post-war freight schedules. Its secret was its 4-6-6-4 articulated wheel arrangement. This design gave the locomotive two sets of driving wheels connected by an articulated frame, allowing it to bend gracefully around curves that would cripple a rigid locomotive of similar size. It could navigate tight mountain turns with surprising agility while still unleashing incredible force. The Challenger's 4 cylinders pumped out more than 600 horsepower, enabling it to climb steep grades while hauling massive freight on trains. Yet what made the 3985 so extraordinary was that it could maintain speeds up to 68 mph, 110 km, even while pulling heavy loads, a feat nearly unmatched in steam history. Weighing almost 270 tons, the Challenger demanded an exceptionally strong suspension. Its engineers crafted a system capable of absorbing relentless stress as the locomotive hammered up mountain slopes day after day. Visually, the 3985 was a titan. Painted in deep black with polished metal accents, it towered over rail workers and spectators. Its exhaust thundered through canyons like rolling seismic waves. The ground itself seemed to tremble when it passed its rhythmic beat, echoing across valleys and open plains. After retirement from regular service, the Challenger received a second life. In the 1980s, it underwent an extensive restoration, returning to the rails as a main attraction on excursion routes. Rail fans traveled hundreds of miles just to witness it in motion, drawn to its raw power and mechanical beauty. On one legendary run, the Challenger covered more than 1,200 miles in a single week, without a single mechanical failure, a testament to its brilliant and durable design. But despite its massive stature, one locomotive still towered above the Challenger in raw scale. A machine so big, so heavy, and so powerful that it warped the limits of steam engineering. Chesapeake and Ohio Allegheny H8, the Appalachian monster built to move mountains. If there is one locomotive that embodies the raw, unfiltered muscle of American steam power, it is the Chesapeake and Ohio Allegheny H8. Born in 1941 at the Lima Locomotive Works, this machine wasn't engineered to be elegant or refined. It was built for one purpose: to dominate the brutal, punishing grades of the Appalachian Mountains. Coal was the lifeblood of the region, and the H8 was the machine chosen to move it in quantities that smaller locomotives could only dream of. With a staggering 7,500 horsepower, the Allegheny H8 ranks among the most powerful steam locomotives ever constructed. It didn't pull trains, it ripped them uphill. Its wheel configuration, the massive 2-6-6-6 articulated design, gave it unmatched traction and flexibility. 2 sets of 6 driving wheels delivered unbelievable grip, allowing it to haul some of the heaviest coal trains ever assembled. Even on steep mountain curves where lesser engines struggled, the H8 powered forward with almost arrogant confidence. The locomotive's 4-cylinder layout and mechanical valve gear demanded constant attention from the crew. This was not a machine you simply operated. It was a machine you managed, respected, and sometimes even feared. The reward for that effort was unmatched performance. The Allegheny weighed an astounding 850,000 pounds, 386 tons, including the tender. That kind of mass placed tremendous stress on the tracks, so much so that inspections were often required after its runs to check for rail damage. This wasn't just a locomotive, it was a moving force of nature. Its tender alone carried 25,000 gallons of water and 70 tons of coal, allowing it to run long distances without frequent stops. In wartime, this endurance was priceless. The H8 could keep entire supply chains alive with fewer refueling breaks. Despite its size, the Allegheny could still reach speeds of up to 60 miles per hour, a shocking figure for a machine designed primarily for brute force. And when it roared past, the sound was overwhelming, a deep volcanic thunder, accompanied by the pounding rhythm of pistons striking like industrial hammers. Only 2 Allegheny H8 locomotives survive today. One of them, number 1601, is preserved at the Henry Ford Museum in Michigan. Standing beside it, you feel small, dwarfed by a piece of machinery so large it seems almost unreal. This locomotive didn't just move freight, it moved history. It proved that steam power could challenge mountains themselves and win. But if you think 7,500 horsepower represents the peak of rail engineering, prepare yourself. The next locomotive shattered that number and did so not with steam, but with the raw modern force of diesel. EMD DDA40X Centennial 1969. The largest, most powerful diesel locomotive ever built. After witnessing the overwhelming power of the Allegheny H8, you might think you've reached the peak of locomotive engineering. But the next machine didn't just match that power, it rewrote the rulebook entirely. Introduced in 1969 by the Electromotive Division of General Motors, the EMD DDA40X, better known as the Centennial, wasn't merely a locomotive. It was a celebration of history built to honor the 100th anniversary of the U.S. Transcontinental Railroad. And fittingly, it became the largest and most powerful diesel-electric locomotive ever to ride the rails. The Centennial delivered a staggering 600 horsepower, produced by not one but 2 V16 diesel engines mounted inside a single extended frame. You're essentially looking at 2 full locomotives merged into one massive unified beast. Supported by 8 axles and a highly advanced electrical transmission system, the DDA40X delivered smooth controlled power with the ability to haul enormous freight loads across thousands of miles of open country. Despite its colossal size, it could reach speeds of up to 90 miles per hour, 145 kilometers per hour, making it one of the fastest heavy-haul diesel locomotives ever built. Weighing roughly 270 tons, the Centennial looked like a rolling metal wall, long, imposing, impossible to ignore. Painted in Union Pacific's bold yellow and red livery, it commanded attention wherever it went. Its deep, thunderous rumble became synonymous with high-priority freight racing across the American West. In service, the DDA40X was a workhorse of astonishing capability. It handled the longest and heaviest trains with ease, proving so reliable that many units far outlived their intended lifespan. Some were still working well into the 1980s, a testament to their durability and engineering excellence. And then there was one unexpected twist. NASA once used the DDA40X frame for vibration testing because of its unparalleled strength and rigidity. Few locomotives can claim to have served both the railroads and the space program. Although dozens of Centennials were built, only a small number survive today, preserved in museums as reminders of an era when engineers dared to build machines that were truly without compromise. Still, even this record-breaking diesel wasn't the biggest. That honor belongs to the final locomotive on our list, a machine so massive, so powerful, and so iconic that it became a legend not just in railroading, but in American history itself. Union Pacific Big Boy, 1941. The largest steam locomotive ever built. No list of rail legends is complete without the machine that stands above them. All the Union Pacific Big Boy, unveiled in 1941 and built by the American locomotive company Alco. The Big Boy wasn't simply designed to move freight. It was engineered to conquer the unforgiving heights of the Rocky Mountains without the help of additional engines. This Titan carried a massive 4884 articulated configuration, a design that allowed it to bend through curves despite its extraordinary length. Its 4 high-pressure cylinders pushed out a staggering 7,000 horsepower, and that was just the beginning. Fully loaded with its tender included the Big Boy weighed over 1.2 million pounds, 548 tons, making it the largest steam locomotive ever put into service anywhere in the world. Its frame stretched to an incredible 132 feet in length, towering over platforms and rail workers who stood in awe beneath its shadow. Despite this enormous size, the big boy could reach speeds of 80 miles 30 kilometers, a shocking achievement for a locomotive of its weight and purpose. Its gigantic boiler and massive firebox allowed it to burn through vast quantities of coal with relentless efficiency, powering freight trains across steep grades that would halt most locomotives in their tracks. Its presence was unmistakable. The black steel body, the gleaming metal details, the iconic 4014 plate on the nose. Everything about the big boy radiated an almost mythic power. The whistle, deep and resonant, echoed across valleys like a call from a mechanical giant awakening. During World War II, big boys became vital to the nation, hauling tanks, equipment, and military supplies across long distances at speeds necessary to keep wartime logistics running. These locomotives often operated non-stop for thousands of miles each month, proving themselves as the ultimate steam workhorses. Only 25 units were built, and most were retired by the late 1950s as diesel power took over the railroads. But the legend lived on. In 2019, Union Pacific completed a full restoration of Big Boy number 4014, bringing the world's largest steam locomotive roaring back to life. When it returned to the rails, crowds gathered along every route, not to see a train, but to witness history in motion. The ground trembles when a big boy passes, the air vibrates, people fall silent. Because this locomotive isn't just a machine, it is the final monument to the greatest era of steam, unmatched, unequaled, and unforgettable. From the deserts of South Africa to the mountains of Appalachia, from streamlined express engines to screw-driven snow, beasts, every machine on this journey has been remarkable. But only one wears the crown. The Union Pacific Big Boy stands above them, all the undisputed king of locomotives.